Quick editor's note. This recording was made about 2 weeks ago on the same day as the Joe Plater interview. So any speculation with regard to anything at all should be considered as originating from that date. Obviously, just this week, Frontier Development gave a lot of information about fleet carriers. That was not included because we don't have a time machine.
This is the Chief Archivist of Lave Station, Commander Phoenix Dfire, otherwise known as Colin Ford, and you're listening to the Loose Screw Podcast, otherwise known as Hillbilly Banjo Redneck Radio. Yeehaw!
I am Ty Worsham, and this is Loose Screws. And with me is my co-pilot, Commander Kai. How's it going there, man?
Fantastic, brother. We're flying spaceships, and we're here. We're excited.
This is going to line up with our 30th episode, which is a pretty big deal. But the guy with us this evening is probably the biggest interview we've done. I'm not even going to say probably. It is the biggest interview we've done. He is the chief archivist. He is the producer and presenter of the one and only Lave Radio, and probably the guy who remembers Wing Commander Privateer very differently than everybody else. Commander Phoenix Dfire, Colin Ford. How's it going there, man?
Good evening, everyone. That's a very, very ego-inflating introduction there, which is something I can't handle.
Well, I'm sure your co-hosts over at Lave Radio have warned you, because I've heard your comment on them all getting their heads through the door was a little bit rough after their interviews.
Yes. It's talking about having to punch them in the head so that they deflate them. I think that's the best way to put it. It's, over here, I don't think we're used to compliments. That's the main issue.
Well, for those
go ahead.
For those that don't know, Lave Radio has been doing their show since Elite Dangerous was in beta Kickstarter.
Kickstarter.
Yes.
Before beta.
Yeah, Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're on episode 283, and there's several lost episodes and miscounted episodes, I believe. So there's probably far more than that.
Oh, there's 100 other quote unquote bonus episodes of one kind or another, either a live event or things like the Lave Radio data slate, the book club that they had, and all kinds of cool stuff. Yeah.
So we've kind of gone through, and I think we've gone through nearly everybody over at Lave, but we wanted to save Phoenix for a special episode. And the reason why is because when I started this, the very first person in the elite community to actually support the Loose Screws podcast was Mr. Phoenix Dfire. And I cannot thank you enough, because what this show has become, I guarantee you, is in large portion to you talking about it on your show, and I cannot thank you enough, man.
Well, you're quite welcome. I mean, the main reason that we do this is because we want the elite community to realize that there are a lot more voices that from different areas that play this game, not just as you as was put on your show, that where we all talk in fairy language, or as if we're in Downton Abbey.
Hey, I like Downton Abbey, so.
So yeah, the more voices out there, the better. So.
Yeah, this. So how long have you been on Lave Radio, and were you there at the very beginning? Because it's all meshes in my brain now. So.
No, I wasn't at the very beginning. I joined about, I think, a year, 18 months after they started.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the second generation of Lave Radio, if you like.
Well, I would say you're like 1.5, because you were there for a lot of the handover early stuff from like Alan Stroud and them.
Yeah. There's a show that they did beforehand called Retro Lave, and I was on that. That's where I got the reputation for being the chief archivist. because for some reason I was able to remember a lot of the instructions from all those old games.
That's great.
And it's amazing that I could remember all this detailed information about how to fly a Corvette in I-War or Independence War. Yet half the stuff that I remember at school is out of my head.
Well, you retain the important bits is clearly what the lesson is here.
yeah. As far as playing space sims concerned, the rest of my real life, no, not really.
So I actually have a sort of a weird job that I'm on the road and by myself most of the time for many, sometimes 16, 18 hours a day. And even though I did not play Elite Dangerous a long time ago, I came into this within the last year. I listened to a couple episodes of Lave Radio and decided I liked it. So I went back and clicked download all and went through all of the episodes. So the early, like episode 2, episode 3, the ones where basically the biggest reoccurring segment on the show was the bathroom update. Went through all of them. So it's very, very, very cool to see the thing come from where it first started to now, where you're basically, I guess to put it, you're the Lord Grantham of Elite Dangerous.
Oh God, I see what the guys mean about trying to inflate the ego. I mean, at the moment, it's very much a case of trying to keep the damn Sidewinder crew together because they're all going off and doing their own thing. You are certainly right about that. You've made the observation in the past that I sound like a poor substitute teacher trying to keep a rowdy class in line, and it feels like it a lot at the moment. Yes. So, but yeah.
Well, let's get this in order. Let's get to the important stuff. So let's get cracking. Number 1, how is the bunny?
Oh God, he is fine.
Good.
He is hopping around the back garden, and he's a much happier bunny than before.
Good. And you would think that the guys would learn not to give you so much shit about your bunny after when Ben, Commander Edelweiss, was giving you shit about your bunny. He got murdered by a bunny that same day. So
I think that is karma working its wonderful ways.
And just for the record, Cruel Rabbit that did murder Edelweiss, he's over on Team Loose Screws. I'm just saying.
Wait a second. He's just on Team Loose Screws. Doesn't he have some kind of special designation for this month that you're supposed to use?
Oh, he is actually our commander of the month. Because
he's our community commander of the month, yes.
Yeah, well, he's especially gone up in my books to just for bunny revenge.
That's great. That's great. So, all right. For everyone listening, I want to get this out before I forget. For everyone listening, this week, the Lave Radio question, community question is what one article would you write in Galnet if you could submit a Galnet article? And once you get your answer, now don't make something full of salt or whatever. Where is it that they send it to, Commander Phoenix Dfire? Because I've already placed mine.
Well, they can reply either at Twitter at Lave Radio, info@laveradio.com if you're using the email, or there is the Facebook. You can just look up Lave Radio and leave a message there, to which some of us will look at it. And yes, we've got tons coming in for that one. Which
actually, I'm just realizing that we've pre-scheduled your interview, so now you're going to have a bunch of random Americans writing in 2 weeks later with an old question.
That'll be fine.
Yeah.
We are, as you know, there is a content drought at the moment. So any extra content that we could throw basically at the wall, that would be fine.
Wait, content drought? Oh, man. I'm playing catch up still, so I've got too much to do. But I get it though. I get it. So we're doing an interview next week with Stephen Benedetti of Frontier Development Community Management Team.
Yes.
And we have our question of the week this week, which is if you could arrange for a Frontier Development stream, or you had an idea for a stream and they would take your submission idea and do it, what would you do? And I would love to hear your answer to this. Mine was to have them intern with SPVFA. So they spend an hour going to a site with, a system with beautiful sites. And the SPVFA guys really show them how to do like photography, videography, and all that. And by extension, everybody watching the stream. Ty's was he would love to see them doing color commentary for two really good CQC teams. So like they do it like an esport where they're they're not against, let me be clear. I'm not saying the community managers versus good CQC players. I'm saying the community managers doing the commentary while two good teams of CQC players face off.
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to see them do a stream on?
Well, to tell you the truth, one of the things that I've got into recently, and I never thought I would, is power play. And I think it would be, I don't know, I think power play is getting a little bit of a short thrift from the community. It's one of these things that is brought up again and again as why Elite Dangerous is rubbish. And I think if people realize there's more to power play than just delivering leaflets, and that these guys, the community managers, can show that, then that would probably be quite interesting.
So I've heard you talking about it for the last 2 weeks of Lave Radio, where you've been saying, like, guys, I've actually been having loads of fun with power play. And it's interesting, though, because one of the things that you said you've been having fun doing, like the more advanced part of power play right now, is actually undermining. And it's interesting because this is sort of the new wave of how to play power play. A year ago or so, maybe 8 months ago, you had on several people that were kind of key players in the power play community. And at that point, you interviewed them and you said, like, what are the problems with power play? What is, what's good, what's bad, what's whatever. And at the time, they all basically said the two biggest problems with power play are this. Number one, there are people that are using bots in solo mode cheating. Power play should be done all in open, which you, to your credit, you do all in open. I know because you've been announced it every week that's what you're doing. Yeah. But the other thing that they said is the second problem with power play is that undermining is way too overpowered, and undermining is like cheater mode for the game, and it's ruining it. And that was, at the time, that was the case. And now it seems like there's a new whole third wave where they've given in and said, screw it, if you can't beat them, join them. And now everyone is legitimately playing the game with the undermine mechanic.
No. What I meant by undermining, this is one thing that is a little bit of a misunderstanding. Undermining is a legitimate tactic in power play, where you can go into an opponent's system and try and undermine their fortifications.
Oh, that.
Yeah,
okay.
that's a genuine bit, and normally that is involving either piracy or actual full-on murder hoboing the opponent's ships, which is a lot more interesting than just delivering leaflets. And what the guys at Power Play were describing was what's known as fifth columning.
Fifth column, yeah. Okay, so that's not a thing that I thought, like, wow, that's become a legitimate part of the game now? That's become
No. Fifth columning is still I think the biggest flaw in that game mode. It basically, because you can set, because you can play against the side that you've pledged to so heavily, it does cause problems. So say for instance that you support the Blue Head Princess, and you're supporting her against the Emperor.
Mm-hmm.
So what's been happening is that people have been joining the Emperor's power, and basically just trying to screw up the Emperor's power play
agenda
strategy by doing stupid moves.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's how you do it. So basically, you will try and get a control system which is so far out of, so far from the HQ that basically it basically bankrupts the it bankrupts the faction, and that mechanic is just so powerful that it does cause problems.
Okay. See, I do power play every week, but I only ever do it to the extent of be in for 4 weeks, get a bunch of modules, throw them on some gunships, name the gunship, mining lances or pack hounds, and then jump to the next one. So I don't have that. I haven't been playing it for real the way you have. So I didn't get that was a distinction. I thought that what had happened is that sort of the entire community had just given up and said, okay, we're all going to fifth column now. And that's how the game is played.
No. As far as I'm aware, especially with the Imperial faction I'm with at the moment, is that fifth columning is still seen as basically an underhand way of playing the game. And to be honest, I'm playing this mode is because I wanted to see whether or not it comes down to the fact that you play with a community, because I've played it before. I've lone wolfed it and got really bored and really frustrated. But I wanted to see if you actually engaged with a community of people who really played the game, this game mode properly, whether or not it changed your perception. And I must admit, I'm happy to report so far, two weeks in, I'm enjoying it a lot more than I would have otherwise.
That's interesting.
I'm not saying it's perfect. There are still issues with it, but if you play in a group, you can really get into it.
Nice. That's very cool. I think there's a renaissance going on of the sort of unloved sections of the game at the moment, because like we've got you who's really having fun with power play. We've got Ty and Chig and a couple of friends who are really getting into CQC. Like there are aspects of the game that are largely maligned and whatever, but that if you go into it with the right attitude, I think people are having fun with.
Well, CQC has always been fun. The problem with CQC has always been getting a match. That's why we push the CQC Discord every single episode, is because the main flaw with CQC is getting and arranging a match. Once you've got that match, you will normally find it is an absolute blast. And even if you've got some stupid guy who's got two accounts on the go and there's just one hanging around in the background, it's still absolutely fine. And I see Ben is trying to inflict smut into the chat room already.
Well, it wouldn't be Ben if he wasn't doing that.
You see, Ben used to be actually quite straight-laced. He used to be quite straight-laced. He used to be quite informative and quite level of the road. And then this podcast called Dockers came along, and for some reason, ever since Dockers, he's turned into a smutmeister.
Ever since Dick, what's his name? Oh, Jack Sofalot is his name.
Yeah. And it's as if something switched in his brain, and that's it. Everything has got to become an innuendo.
It was basically, that was where he first touched the what is it called, like the proto molecule or whatever from
he touched something and didn't wash his hands.
He should have listened to the CDC and washed his hands thoroughly, but oh well.
For 20 seconds while humming
Yes.
I don't know what you're supposed to hum to it now.
I think it's probably God Save the Queen. Right? I mean, it seems obvious to me.
Yeah, it's probably the Sex Pistols version, knowing him.
Yeah, there you go. Actually, that's a good version. All right.
I've actually seen a bunch of stuff that you're supposed to hum it to. Everything from like the what's called the Marine Credo all the way down. So
start washing your hands and just, from the halls of my...
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I don't think it's actually a credo, but yeah.
Yeah, no. Anyways,
Yes.
bringing it back. So, all right. So you've been having a lot of fun with Power Play, and so your idea is you would like to see them really promote.
I would like to see them actually do something with Power Play that's not. Power Play has got a reputation of just being, you take one bunch of leaflets from one system to another, and that's it. But it would be nice to show them, show that there's more depth to it than just that.
Now, I have a question. If this is going to be an official Colin Ford Lave Radio, suggestion for a stream, how are we going to fit in some way for Shan to cheat?
Oh, Shan would find a way somehow. He's probably doing the fifth columning already.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, the main reason that Shan, I think Shan wants so many such detailed facial expressions on the commanders is that he wants to see their expression when he pushes them out of the airlock. So,
well, that's what makes him your human resource director.
Yes.
Quite. Yeah.
He's a very nice person and quite considerate person in real life. It's just when he's flying a spaceship, he turns into an absolute monster.
I take issue with that a little bit. So I agree that I could really just flip this around and say, like, he's not nice in real life. No, he's very, very nice and sweet in real life. I think that he's also maybe a little nicer than he comes off. I think that for Lave Radio, all of you guys are sort of playing your part. I think that Souverine is most definitely playing the part of the, upright journalist, and, he'll laugh at this and that or whatever, but he won't really sort of suggest things out of line. I think Ben is playing the part of the perv and one of the two bad boy team. And I think that
no, he is.
Okay. But I will say this. I will, while Ben, okay, maybe it fits a little more actual. For Shan, I 100% am sure that Shan is playing up for the crowd. Shan is playing at all of his stuff of the congest Shan charge ideas and all of his different things of like, well, I think we should charge more for this and this, that, and the other. He's saying it all with a smile on his face, like, oh, okay, this is going to rile up the masses. 100%.
Oh, yeah. He's trolling us 100% of the time. But there are some times when you just think, that's a little bit too true, isn't it? You've got too much experience in knowing how these kind of trolling system works. You did come up with some kind of taxation system in the past, haven't you?
Yeah. And you are the long-suffering herder of kittens. You have to get all the kittens marching in the same direction, and they're constantly, one of them is wandering to go get them back in line.
That's pretty much it. I'm afraid to say that there's no other personality there. That's just basically trying to keep the show running.
So let me ask you, because when Ty introduced you, he introduced you as the head of something I've never heard of, Lave Radio, or I don't know. I know you as the host of Top Shift. That's clearly what you're famous for. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Top Shift?
I haven't done it. Actually, I'm working on Top Shift at the moment with the Power Play. But Top Shift started as a web series, I think. Just after the alpha. I got 119 episodes in, but the problem is Lave Radio comes along and just takes away all your time. So I haven't been able to do Top Shift. It's a let's play. It covers a lot of things you normally don't hear about in the community. I mean, one of the things that I have been doing on Top Shift is the virtual reality headsets, which don't cost you an absolute fortune.
Mm-hmm.
So there is software that you can buy which will allow you to link up your Android phone and your iPhone into one of these cheapy headsets, and it will have the head tracking, and it'll have all the bits that you need in order to give you a taste of VR. It won't be as good. It's not as good as having a proper bespoke headset, but it's enough to give you a taste of it, and whether or not you're going to be able to cope with the motion sickness and things like that. So, I mean, that's one thing that I do. But I must admit, the last couple ones of those I've done is the headsets and the tracking have got so much better that it's better than the old DK2, which you had problems reading the text in that one, but in the latest one, it's a lot better. And then Cal comes along and with his latest VR headset,
one. Yeah,
and he just puts that in front of you and says, "Try that on," and you think, "Oh God, I'm actually sat here now." This is stop showing off. Yeah, but Top Shift is my YouTube series, but the problem with that one is that live radio does take up so much time. I'm not able to focus on it as much as I'd love to.
Okay. So, well, I will be anxiously looking forward to, though, a new Top Shift coming soon, TM, about power play.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see whether I can get it out before the fleet carrier announcement comes along, whenever that might be.
Soon, TM.
Yeah, it's going to be a race to see which guns comes out first. Although I've got a sneaky suspicion people will be a lot more interested in the fleet carriers than I come out with.
Well, since you brought up fleet carriers, let's talk about them real quick. What do you think we're going to get out of fleet carriers?
Oh, I've been over that in my head so many times. Originally, I thought, you know how the massive freighters are in No Man's Sky?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I thought we were going to get something similar to that. Shan and company, they originally thought they were just going to be like mobile stations, but I think they're going to be more than just a station that you can jump 500 light years at a time. What that's going to entail, I got no idea. There could be that the support ships you send away, like the frigates in No Man's Sky, or they have different kind of functions depending on the kind of support frigate you have. And they haven't even said whether or not you're restricted to just one. You might have a whole fleet of little frigates next to you. At the moment, all we know is that you're going to be able to store up to 16 ships. You're going to be able to jump at 500 light years, and you're going to have kind of executive control, and it'll need fueling. That's all we know. And until they give us more details, it's difficult to say. I mean, they've said on their live streams that it will change the way you play your game. We'll just have to wait and see, because I know that the people on our crew, it's about a 50-50 split of whether or not it'll be useful or not, because some people are just saying it's just a vanity item, and other people are thinking, no, this will completely and utterly change the game.
Well, let me ask you this. What do you like, best case scenario, what do you want out of them?
Well, basically, I'd think that some high-end money sink is needed for the game. People will look at these fleet carriers like end game content, and Elite Dangerous at the moment does need a new section of end game content. Because for the last year, 18 months or so, that everything has been really tailored for new players. It's time for some of the veteran players to get something that they can get their teeth into.
Well, kind of go along the same lines then. Do you think that we'll, because when we talked to the pilot months and months back, one of the things he mentioned was the burning the bubble theory. I'm sure you've heard by now.
Yeah, I've heard about this one. We've had people come up to us and say, as soon as they announced it at the FDev show, they went, "Oh, great! They're going to burn the bubble. They're going to burn the bubble." And I'm there going, "No, they won't. They won't throw away that much work that they've put into the bubble just for convenience sake."
So let me hit you. I'm sorry. Finish that thought.
No. I just don't think that Frontier will get rid of what's already there. They will. They'll do something else, I think.
Let me hit you with my variation and see if this tickles your fancy. Which sounds naughty, actually. Now that I think. Anyways,
talk more about tickling fancies.
So anyways,
you two have been talking to Ben far too much.
No, I'm remembering last week's show or whatever when you were like, "Oh my God, Ben has got me," because you were doing that. That's what she said. But anyways, yeah, Elite Dangerous has lost a lot of its dangerous, and that's kind of sad for some of us because they've nerfed the world. Money's easy. Everything is sort of easier and easier and easier. Mm-hmm. And now with the most recent, your crew members are on your insurance policy. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against a lot of these things per se individually, but when you add them up together, what you end up with is they are making this nerfed. They're making this more new player friendly and more sort of like, it's elite parentheses, not so close parentheses, dangerous. And don't get me wrong, I get the emphasis on getting new people in and up to speed.
Yeah.
But here's what I would like. I would like a section of the game to be elite fucking dangerous. All right? So, how about this as a thought? They release fleet carriers and they unlock a little grid of, say, maybe 20 or 30 systems deep in the Coal 70 sector. Mm-hmm. And now fleet carriers can jump the 500 light years to get into that little grid. And in that grid, now in the rest of the game, Elite is still Elite, not so dangerous. We welcome Hello Kitty, come on in. Everybody's happy and shiny and everyone gets a sticker and new players all get their free piece of welfare cheese and yada, yada, yada. But in that little sector, it's Elite fucking Battlestar Galactica. Hold on, you got to scrap for everything, and the world is going to fuck you. Dangerous.
I think that would be an excellent idea. Basically, the sort of some kind of expedition to find. I don't know. They find the
Tharg homeworld, the Tharg territory.
Yeah, something to do with Thargoid territory or things like that, which will allow people to really need to take the fleet carriers in somewhere, and then they've got to use those support craft in a way that will save humanity. Because if they lose it out there, then the Pleiades gets burnt again, or the Thargoids come in on a major strike.
And if you do it that way, like I said, it's just a handful. It's 30, 40 systems that are deep in the Coal 70 sector. Everything around it is walled off, not permitted. So you can't have any noobs accidentally stumble their way in there. It's only going to be for the people that sign up for this shit that really want to go there. And then for us that want elite fucking dangerous, we can go and we can play the game on hard mode and we can play the dark, scrappy survival, hold on for everything that you can. Everything is rough, but like, oh my God, are you enjoying the fuck out of this? I am. And at any point, if you want to bail, at any point, if you're like, all right, this is too hard, I want to go back to easy mode. It's, you jump your ship out, you jump your carrier out or whatever. And I would think that they would need to come up with some form of a mechanic in game where even if you caught a ride in on your buddy's carrier or something, if you don't have a carrier, they can come up with some lore friendly way of like you hit a beacon and then a jump ship, a small carrier jumps into your area. You get on it and you can scrabble your ass back to the easy mode.
Yeah. It does sound as if, once we get the fleet carriers, people will need something to do with those fleet carriers that obviously will not break the background simulation, because there's been an awful lot of speculation, so much speculation, oh God, about how if you've got a trade section in your fleet carrier, does that mean you've got commodity storage? And if you've got commodity storage, well, that actually breaks the whole trade system. So, that's been going back and forward. And it all depends on whether or not you've got confidence that Frontier are just going to allow that, or whether or not it's, or whether or not they're going to lock it down and say that there's a system that will stop it from breaking the background simulation. I completely agree with you that it needs end game content, which means people with your massive Corvette with the multiple Guardian weapons on it. You need something to really get your teeth into, because at the moment, even though the Thargoid content I think is really good, it does feel like it needs to be moved up another level, especially when you get the fleet carriers. You need something to balance it.
Completely. All right.
I was in the wrong damn button again, even though I moved it.
I was like, I'm waiting. I'm like, Ty's going to come in. I'll wait for him. And then it was like, okay, he's not. Never mind. I'll do it.
Yeah.
But to answer your original question, I don't think they're going to burn the bubble. They still need that bubble to ease people into the game. And
whereas with my idea, everything gets to stay the same, so they don't alienate anyone, and people who want it hard get to go to a special place where you can get it hard. Fuck off, and that's
go
not
to
what
a
I'm talking
special
about.
place where you can get it hard.
Fuck off, Ty. That's not what I'm talking about either. I literally did a fuck off Ben in the middle of it, and then it was like, oh well, apparently I have to amend that to include Ty.
Yeah. Look, it's even now he's he's infected you too as well. It's like the sort of the Ben virus. This is what I hope that you would avoid, but obviously not.
No, we did not. Unfortunately, before Trump closed down the borders, the virus spread here. So
the Edelweiss virus got to you, did it?
Edelweiss 19.
That's basically Edelweiss and the age of the girls he's chasing around.
Oh shit!
All right,
I'm glad you went that high. I really did.
What's that?
No, you can forget that bit.
You said you're glad that we went high. Oh my god! All right, so just ignoring that one and moving right along. Yes. So all right, we've asked you. Okay, just. Because when we asked you, what do you think on fleet carriers? All right, you gave us, I'm sorry, but I'm going to call you out on it. You gave us a bullshit answer. You gave us I'm the radio announcer, host of the show answer. And you've said, well, some people have said this and some people have said that and yada, yada, yada. So now I'm going to just put it right to your face. You're not a radio host right now. You're not the host of the show. You're being interviewed. You're a dude. You're a commander. What do you think? I don't want to hear what you think. What you're telling me Shan thinks and the community and this one and that one. What in your balls? What do you feel is coming? What do you want to come? What gets you excited? What are you like, this is what I want? I want this.
What is happening to the show? Oh my god.
I know. I wasn't expecting something like this. Come on, tell me what's in your balls.
I'm waiting, man. What do you want?
Just give me a second here. Need whiskey. Hang on.
Yes, let's all drink some.
Right. Well, basically, I want something that is going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. I want to have a fleet carrier that I can take somewhere and fight something with, to be honest.
Maybe a Thargoid mothership or something?
Yeah, a Thargoid mothership or something like that. I mean, I would like it that you could take on other people's fleet carriers, but they've said that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like it if you could drive the fleet carrier off like you can drive off capital ships. Because that is awesome. And
well, they didn't say that you can't do that. They said that fleet carriers are indestructible, so that doesn't mean that you can't make them bugger off like capital ships. Because by definition, that's a way that you can sort of destroy a fleet carrier without destroying. It's a soft destroy. You can force it to bugger off.
You see, this is the thing, because I have what I would like to see and what I know what is possible.
What would you like to see?
What I would like to see is, the introduction. There was one of the very first videos they did to promote Elite Dangerous was the capital ship battle. And I would love that kind of thing to happen with fleet carriers, where you have two players carriers turn up and basically they batter the hell out of each other. But it's only when the player wins and drives the other one off does the encounter win. However, I know from my development experience that kind of thing would be very, very difficult to pull off.
And that would also require you flying the ship, which they've said we're not flying it. We sort of schedule a jump through the galaxy map.
Well, yeah, no, you could still schedule it to arrive at the same time as somebody else, or somebody else knows that you're there and will send his carrier to that particular point. But and then, of course, depending on which squadron or what your allegiance is, you could have, I don't know. I do know that the fleet carriers, you're going to be allowed to only allow yourself to dock, or your squadron to dock, or maybe even your power to dock, or everybody. It'll be one of those options. But then what happens if you could set your carrier to hostile? So as soon as it comes in there, if there's not anybody who's in your squadron or in your power, then that's it. It's open fire time. That I would love it to see a sort of player fleet carrier battle. But the problem is that that's what the little bit of me inside would really like. Okay. The main issue that I do know is that my developer head comes on and goes, they won't be able to do that because the engine, I don't think, can handle it at the moment.
All right. So, interesting. All right. I'm sorry. I had to just get a little confrontational there to get you out of sort of announcer mode, because you're so used to, no, seriously, you're so used to being the guy that sort of frames the discussion and couches everybody's responses into a thing that you like take everything into effect. And I'm more interested in hearing the Colin Ford answer. I want to hear what Colin really thinks,
This is the problem. Half the time when you actually hosting live radio, you don't have opinions of your own.
Well, but here you do. Yeah, here we're not having you sort of whatever respond to everybody else's. We want to hear your opinion. So okay, continuing on that train. Now, what do you tell me? Just your gut, and I know this answer doesn't have to have anything backing it up other than just your gut. What do you think carriers are going to cost?
Well, I reckon that they're actually going to be approximately $1 billion.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're going to be very, from what everybody else was saying, they're all saying 5 billion, 20 billion, that kind of thing. I think it'll just be a straightforward $1 billion. However, the support ships and the extra bits that you get for it, that will probably cost a hell of a lot more.
So so you're thinking $1 billion is the price tag, just like when you buy a cutter, it's, X million. What do you think is the total price tag for when you have it tricked out? Just a ballpark.
Oh God. Yeah, I think we're looking between 5 and 10 billion for the whole lot.
Okay, interesting.
Because I think that once you get that 1 billion done, then the amount of money that you'll be able to bring in from the support ships and things like that will probably be exponential. So you'll be able to really rake in the cash at that point.
So you're thinking something like back in the day when people were just starting to get their freighters, you would buy the cheap ass freighter and then use that freighter to generate income to pay for the upgrade Uber God mode trader.
Yes. That's exactly what the kind of thing that you're on about, because normally you'd get a T9, you would basically max it out with as many cargo racks as possible, and then you'd find that one golden run that would just pay you out, and then before you know it, you would have enough money for the big Anaconda, and also if you were that way inclined, the big Imperial cutter, because the cutter does the cutter carry more than the T9 now?
The T9 can carry more than the cutter without shield. They both are. If you're going to do sort of the sensible variant, then you're both going to have the same.
Wow. I remember when this is it. It's going back just 2 years. The T9 wasn't the big cargo carrier it is now, because the cutter had a lot more space in it. So people would get the Imperial rank. They would go through that grind to get the Imperial rank, get the money together using the T9, and then eventually move it up to the cutter, which of course once you got your cutter, that made you even more money.
That's still, I think, what the majority of people do, because if you have them shielded and sort of set up properly in a real good sort of defensible trader that can take a lick and keep on ticking, the cutter is king. So that's still the case.
Well, so to kind of give you an idea, I went and looked it up real quick. If you full cargo them out, the difference is $794 for the cutter versus $790 for the top 9. So we're talking about 4 tons is what we're talking about. So
yeah, but you'll want the cutter because the cutter can take more punishment than the
right.
Absolutely,
and it's got a lot more guns.
Absolutely. So
it's ugly as hell though, but
while we're continuing on the honesty train of the what Colin Ford thinks, what do you think is going to be? What do you think about the Brucey bonus? What do you think about the little slip, the little comment about new and innovative mechanics, completely new and innovative mechanics that they will bring? What would you like there?
Right. This is a genuine answer, is that I don't know.
Okay, that's fair.
Because originally what I thought it was going to be was we were going to have the fleet carrier, which will need fueling, and you'd have the support vessels. And all that would happen is, if depending on the support vessel you have, that would enable the option on the dock menu of the support carrier. So that'd be like the station. So if you had the mercenary one, then suddenly the mercenary contacts would appear. If you had the trading one, then you'd have the marketplace. But if what Bruce has said turns out to be true, then I think it might that idea is completely dead in the water, and they've come up with something else, and I cannot for the life of me think of what they've come up with.
Well, either that, it might not be dead in the water. It might be all of that plus the Brucey bonus. You know what I mean? Seriously, it might be that it's okay, the it might be all right. The mining ship is going to have, the exploration ship is going to have universal cartographics, but that doesn't, to me, scream new and completely new and innovative mechanics. To me, it's okay, that's the bit maybe that was there before. What's the Brucey bonus? What is it? And I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm waiting.
You see, and that at the moment is the one bit which when he let that slip, I thought, oh, there might be more to fleet carriers than I'm expecting then. And at that point, my enthusiasm kind of rekindled a little bit.
Yeah, right?
Because, new stuff.
Yeah.
It's always going to be new stuff. And as long as it helps the game and it's not predictable, then I think that's great.
100% agree.
So we're all kind of looking at like a slip. I kind of look at it like it was, I don't want to say directly planned, but I feel like it was like, hey, so at some point say this, or kind of go down this path.
Interesting.
I don't think so. You see, the one thing about Frontier is they're very, very tight-lipped. Where I saw a whole load of conspiracy theories about, when the leak happened, that Frontier leaked it on purpose.
No way.
It was all such. I was there at ECM when the leak happened, and the three community guys that were there, that's Sally, Paige, and Will, they disappeared. It was sort of panic stations as far as they're concerned, and that doesn't happen if it had been a kind of planned leak.
Yeah.
Well, first off, what you're saying is absolutely correct. But secondly, even if you don't take that into account, for anyone that didn't have that information, the fact of the matter is Frontier Development is a publicly traded company. As such, that if that leak were done on purpose internally as like a corporate strategy to drum up ideas or like promote interest or excitement or hype, that literally is the kind of thing someone could go to jail for, because that affects their share prices.
It can
that's
be
like
considered
completely
insider
bullshit.
trading in some ways.
Like even the Formula One announcement that they just made as a public statement, like they had to do it. Like if you notice, when you read through that, the bit that all the gamers cared about was the top paragraph or two. After that, there were loads of disclaimers, and this was, this is the corporate officer in charge of this and that. Because if you don't release information properly on a publicly traded company, you can literally get sued, be liable for millions of dollars, and or have situations where people go to jail for insider trading. So like that's completely bogus that it's like, oh yeah, they let that out themselves.
Yeah, I mean that is one of the things that people forget about when dealing with this kind of thing, is that we are dealing with public limited companies, and we're all frustrated at the moment about the fact that whenever anything about new content, whenever new content is request, information about new content is requested, they say we can't talk about anything because we'll talk about it when it's good and ready. And one of the reasons is because of the financial position of the financial status of the company. Yeah, I mean, you just look at Hello Games. They did the best thing they could do by just shutting up and proving everybody wrong by. Yeah, they proved everybody wrong by shutting up and then double downing and getting the game done properly, and they've gone and turned things around.
And I'm a huge believer of the fact that I would like to see more engagement from the community management team. I would like to see more information coming out from the devs to us. I would like to see them reverse their policy and start bringing more information forward. But that has to be handled. That's not in a vacuum. That has to be handled in consultation with legal and corporate and liability issues and whatever. And that has to be happening in a world that is not having, leaks going out. And that has to happen in an environment where when they do open up, they find a receptive and supportive community, as opposed to like when the Horizon stuff came out, there was a huge wave of just salt and bitterness and whatever. And I think that does nothing but encourage a company from a corporate side to say like, well, look, if they're going to shit on us for everything we say and use our words against us, now you go into lawyer mode, and it's like you just answer everything with a yes or no and a no comment.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you exactly when that happened. I mean, as far as Elite Dangerous is concerned, the 2.3 release, which was the multi-crew commanders one, the salt level on that was so high. I mean, partly because it was a bad release. There was some absolute glaring bugs in there which stopped people from being able to play it. But some of the vitriol about the design mechanics that came out, you could just tell from the developers' reactions when they were on the streams that we don't want to come on these streams anymore.
Right.
And from that point on, I mean, the Thargoid stuff was supposed to be kept under wraps anyway, because that was always what they were going to do. But from that point on, I felt that's when they've decided to, right, we're not going to put out as much open information as we used to.
Right on.
And they've stuck with that policy since, because I have a genuine feeling that whenever they put something out, they just get so much grief back that it's not worth doing. And there comes a point in any creative endeavor where you've got to do something which you believe 100% in until you've finished it. Because if you try and change your mind halfway through, then basically the end product will be a bad compromise.
Star Citizen, for example.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've been flip-flopping on that left, right, and center. It's beginning to come together now. Yeah. I mean, I'm a backer of Star Citizen.
You both.
Yeah, and I deeply regret actually backing it. Because basically what started off as a Wing Commander remake, I thought, yeah, I'll pitch in for that. Suddenly turned into a Freelancer remake, and I went, I didn't really want that. And, but that's by the by. It does sound, as far as they're concerned, that we're going to get Squadron 42 first, which is what I wanted. So as long as that comes out, the rest of it can,
So you went through a roller coaster of like, huzzah!
I think you cut out there, Kai.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we're everything up to huzzah, and then it went quiet.
I said you went through like a huzzah, oh no.
Yeah, basically. That's pretty much my experience with Star Citizen. Is of, hooray, that looks good. Oh, okay, they're doing what now? Oh, okay. So, but, what they've got there, it's beginning to look good. It's just wish I had a machine strong enough, powerful enough to run it.
Yeah, I think that thing's not done. And that thing's not done. And by the time it's done,
but
you're gonna need it.
But I'm quite happy enough playing Elite Dangerous for the moment. So there's not that much of an what is it? Oh, there's not much I want to do to jump ship, if you see what I mean.
So you mentioned playing Wing Commander and whatnot. I'm a huge Wing Commander fan. Did you ever play Independence War?
Independence War?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite games. In fact, actually, if you look in my YouTube channel, you'll find a whole load of Let's Play Through Independence Wars that I've got on there. I love both Independence War and Independence War 2.
They were so good. And that was the game where I learned that spaceships don't fly in space like jets,
No. The fact that they put full Newtonian physics in and managed to make it fun, it's fantastic, that is.
In that game, I always they had that one ship, or I can't remember exactly how it worked now because I played too many space games since. But I remember the sniper cannon in that game, and you could snipe ships from so far away, and I got rather good at it because I would just kind of, Newtonian physics fly really hell far away and cut the thrusters and turn over and just as I'm flying backwards from them, just snipe them. And I really want something like that in Elite, man.
Well, the closest you've got really is the rail guns, isn't it? You can go flight assist off and then just go mad with the rail guns. But no, I don't think there's anything like it. I mean, the old Frontier and First Encounters was full Newtonian, but it wasn't as much fun as Independence War.
Did you ever play Free Space or Free Space 2?
I played Free Space. I didn't get around to playing Free Space 2, which everybody tells me is supposed to be the best of those kind of Wing Commander type mission-based space games. I've got it actually on GOG. I've still got to get around to actually playing it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's the only one I haven't played, which everybody else is going, what? That's the best one.
Well, you got that to look forward to.
Yeah, well.
I don't know if I would agree it's the best one because I really enjoyed Wing Commander 3, what was called Eye of the Tiger. I really enjoyed that one.
I preferred that for the plot rather than the fighting.
Oh, yeah.
I must admit, when you actually compare the flight models between X-Wing and Wing Commander, you just realize how much better X-Wing was, because X-Wing is hard. I went back and played Wing Commander 3, I think, 18 months ago, and I couldn't believe how rigid. That's the best phrase. How rigid the flight model is. It is just literally left, right, up, down. While if you're in an X-wing, it's bank left, bank right, and up, down. And just that fact that the ship banks as it turns left just makes such the difference.
Well, when you go back, go ahead.
They changed it in Wing Commander Prophecy and made the flight engine a lot better there. I must admit, I did enjoy that one. But you see, this is the thing. You go back and replay these games, and then all of a sudden you see how much better the games that we've got at the moment are.
That's literally exactly what I... When you go back to these old ones, like, it was so amazing at the time.
Yes.
And now that with what we've got, we're like, well, that's not as good as, this. And it's like, well, that's because, it's 30 years later.
It is. I mean, in one of the retro lives we did Privateer. And I really remember playing Privateer to death and thoroughly enjoying it. The main problem I had was that when I went back to it, oh my God, I shouldn't. It spoiled my memories.
I'm right now. I didn't like Privateer then. I don't like Privateer now. I think it's one of the worst ones.
So about 2 months ago, maybe a little longer, with the, hey, what have you been up to this week in Lave? You had said, like, I've been playing Pool of Radiance. And I remember the old SSI. Is it SSI or SSI?
It's the gold boxes, yes.
Yes. I remember those old games, Pool of Radiance, Champions of Krynn, all of them. I used to love, I would set my party up with the Barbarian guy, not the Knight, Templar. What's the name of the one where he was the Uber tank? Was it the Templar?
It was the Paladin.
Paladin, that's the name. And then I would have the little guy, the little tiefling guy in the back where I had the +1 to his sling or +2 to his sling attacks. I love that. And then the key to that game, basically, just the way I played it at least, the key to every engagement in that game is I would funnel everybody into, depending on the shape of the hallway or the room I was in, I would funnel everybody in and either go chain lightning or the delayed blast fireball. Oh, so good, those games.
Yeah. The thing is, I mean, I've almost completed Pool of Radiance now, and I've got further with it on this playthrough than I ever did in the past.
Okay.
You see, this is the thing. I completed Champions of Krynn and left that one there. So, but I played But the mistake I made was I played Champions of Kryn first, and then tried to play Pools of Radiance. And Pool of Radiance originally was released before Champions of Kryn, and that had Champions of Kryn had a whole load of improvements that they made to the game engine. So basically, when you went back to Pool of Radiance, you went, "Oh, this is rubbish! You can't even fix your party up." And they fix it in later games, but just getting past that is pretty difficult. But when I finish it at some point in the next couple of weeks, because I know I'm going to be able to tick that one off my list and go, yes, it only took me 30 years. Finally got it done. And then you suddenly realize, yes, it is 30 years because it's 1989 that game came out.
I beat that one and I loved it. That one, and then very close to it, it was a summer. It was that and Sid Meier's Pirates. Between those two games, I must have played 14 hours a day. If I would play football for like 3 hours a day, and then play those computer games for like 14 hours a day, and then sleep for 4 hours a day, and then everything else in my life would have to compete for whatever time was left after that.
Yeah, those games were time sinks. I remember people telling me about Pirates, and I went, no.
Oh, so good, bro. So good.
Yeah, the main problem is not because of how good the game was. It was a case of I didn't have the time. And it sounds pretty familiar these days.
Yeah, right. Gaming with the missus and the kids and all that.
Yes, that's that. It's fatherhood does stop you being a full-time gamer.
Yeah, it even stops you from telling off Ben properly at times. I know last week you were like, I want to respond to that in a lively way, but the missus is already asleep and I don't want to get told off.
Yes. That is one of the reasons why Top Shift, I've got this kind of low voice on Top Shift, is because basically I'm recording that about 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock at night. So basically I've got to keep my voice low. So a lot of people said, do you know you're doing AM or ASMR videos? And I went, no.
Hey.
I have to keep my voice low. I'm not trying to do anything like that.
Hey, look, if they watch and donate, don't question what they're doing. All right. So
let me ask you this. How excited are you about Baldur's Gate 3?
Well, it's not a continuation of the ball spawn, is it?
No.
It's a brand new story, isn't it?
No, the whole ball spawn kind of ended up playing out in the books or in the tabletop stuff.
The final expansion, wasn't it? It's sort of
right. I think there was one more ball spawn, but they ended up playing them out in one of the I think actually in one of the Drizzt books later on.
Oh, right.
I think this new Baldur's Gate 3 centers around combating against a demon known as Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, damn. No, this one here is going to be like, we know it takes place several years after the whole event of the ball spawn. We don't know exactly how far. And we do know that there's going to be some dimension traveling because of the Nautilid that they're on is traveling dimensions. So I never played the Pool of Radiance series, but I played, Icewind Dale, Baldur's Gate, those games. And of course, Neverwinter Nights. Oh man, and I would love for them to do a modern Neverwinter Nights, and super up the graphics, put it all in the 5th edition rules, give us a little bit more robust tool editing thing, and let us make modules and stuff. Man, that's I'd be all over that.
Yeah, the Neverwinter Nights module maker was phenomenal. I knew people that built persistent worlds in that. It was unbelievable.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
But I'll it's certainly on my I've certainly got my eye on it. It's like the remake of Fantasy Final Fantasy VII. I've got my eye on that, but I know it's not coming to PC, which is a bit of a shame. But that sort of Baldur's, the old RPGs are certainly a weakness of mine, but they do take up an awful lot of time.
Yeah, they do. But they're so good.
Did you play Divinity 2 or original Sin 2? Sorry.
No, I haven't. I haven't played that one.
That is a work of art, sir. I encourage you to check that out.
Yeah. I mean, I've gone through most of the D&D ones, and of course, Planescape Torment. That one just blew my mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, and of course, I'm living it all again thanks to GOG because Good Old Games has gone and got all these up and running again, and that's how I'm playing them. So punishing my credit card, I'll tell you that.
So let me ask you.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're on the same line. Go ahead.
Well, the GOG is. I'm right there with you. The GOG, man, it's made like there's Free Space in there, Independence War is in there, and I have lost my Independence War CDs, and I saw them in there. I'm like, well, that's $20. That's about to go down. So
yeah, it's phenomenal what they've done, especially being able to get it running on modern PCs. Because that's the one thing I've always hated is that there are so many games out there, games that I thought, oh, that's great, I'd love to play that again, and then you find out that it's so difficult, and then when it runs, it's unplayable because your machine is too good for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
All right. So we've tackled the fleet carrier question. Now the other question that we of course have to dive into is your thoughts on the new era. What do you? Okay, so we're going to do this in 3 sections. The first is, what do you think will be coming?
Right. Well, I think that Leak is correct. We will have some form of space legs, and we will have base building, or some kind of base management, both of which I'm fine with.
Okay.
Right.
What would you want to be coming?
What I would prefer to happen was the other way around. I would have preferred to have atmospheric landings and basically, water worlds and content based on that, and maybe space legs going round, going round on the planets, very similar to No Man's Sky. And that's what I would have preferred.
Same, 100% same. It's not that I'm against the space leg stuff and the base building stuff. It's like, okay, there's 2 aspects to it. The aspect of the sort of vanity item, like I drop a place and it's like, that's my base. Okay, fine, whatever. And then the other aspect is like actual using it for game mechanics. So if you're actually using it for game mechanics, it has to be one of 3 things. It's either storing stuff, acquiring stuff, as in this is a moon base that is like mining materials and you have to set it all up. And after you get it set up, from that base, little AI SRV tractors and shit are going to go out into the mines and come back out with your, X amount of materials per day or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the third is producing stuff, i.e., you take the stuff that you've mined, you take some blueprints, you put it together, you've got a factory, and it spits out resistors or capacitors or some sort of a trade item, which you can then either A, hire NPC pilots to deliver to a market for money, or B, deliver it yourself to markets for money. Yeah.
I mean, it could be that the base building will lead to a player-based economy, where one set of people will have mining bases, but they need, they're hoping that their stuff will get sold to people who've got industrial bases to build more products and things like that. I mean, that's what I believe a player economy is where you generate items within the game itself. That I've seen people say a player economy is where you actually is effectively pay to win. Where you pay some arcs in or something, and then all of a sudden you've got a base, and they say that's a player economy. But as far as the base building is concerned, then then I could see it working if you build your mining base and your mate has an industrial base not far away, and the two of you can trade and build things up that way. And have I just gone completely off topic?
No. I'm with you. Oh, I'm entirely. I dig it. I'm just coming back to the thought that it's like, yeah, for me, atmospheric landings is more interesting. Water worlds, gas giants, different things that you could do. I would love to see flying low flying into high orbit over a gas giant and deploying an SLF that has no weapons, but that it has like an umbilical, and that is a special designed SLF that just skims along the higher parts of the atmosphere and scoops materials in some form of an interesting mini game or whatever, where you got to fly through the tunnel and you're trying to avoid getting crushed by too much pressure. You're trying to get ferret it through these little tunnels, all of the good stuff, and get it scooped up and shot up the umbilical back up to the ship.
And what happens if you're in a one of these gas giants that has life form? You could be dealing with space whales in the top of these atmospheres.
It could be space whales. I think when you read the description of most of the things, it leads you to say that, like, oh, actually they're talking about like plankton type, like multi-cell or single cell organisms. But there's not to say that you couldn't find one that's got a big ass fuck off kraken in there that is like, hey, you get over here. Yeah, man.
Basically like the space whale in Star Wars.
Yeah, man. But I would love to see that. I would love to see SSRV. I would love to see subsurface reconnaissance vehicles for water worlds, And again, you could go in there and you're mining underwater in the basic, like a Marianas Trench 7 miles deep on a water world, on the ass end of the galaxy, and then all of a sudden just two big eyes open up next to you. It's like, whoa. Will Robinson.
That's it. I hope your flight suit's brown.
Yeah, man. There's tons of things that they could do with that would be awesome, and so I'm much more interested in that. But there is cool stuff that they can do with the base building for just for vanity item. I'm like less interested in. It's like, oh, that's okay, but the production side of it excites me more. I like Eve. I don't want to play Eve anymore. I played Eve for years. I don't want to play Eve anymore because I'm bored with the spreadsheets. I want flying and pew pew. But I like the economy side of it.
Yeah, I mean we know that we don't actually know, but what has been suggested has been the you can build your base. You've got something to do with space legs, which will allow you to either run around that base or run around your ship, and also that base might come under attack from Thargoids. I've seen an awful lot of people suddenly jump on they're going to turn Elite into PUBG bandwagon. And I'm just there going, no, the only people that would turn it into PUBG would be the players. I don't think Frontier would actually set aside a specific sort of battle royale mode in the first person. But I can surely see 100 players all getting together and say, let's do Fortnite Elite Dangerous style just for the lols.
Yeah, man. I'm not. So the aspect of the leak where they talked about it, they said first-person shooter with Thargoids, which is like, okay, there's some stuff to unpack from that statement. The first is first-person shooter, and the second is with Thargoids. So running around playing PUBG with Thargoids, I am not at all interested.
No, I'm not either.
I get that some people might be. I don't think that it's the market that's the right way to go for this game, because this is not the kids that are playing. These are not the Twitch kids. This game is aimed at old farts with hotasses that are more cerebral and are interested in stuff that's on GOG, good old games. But there are many who will enjoy first-person shooters, like my friend Commander Burr, who is a huge fan of that and is excited for it. So, okay, I make room for the fact that not everything has to be for everyone. This game can be awesome, and I can find cool things to do around their gameplay. I can be the guy that's flying the dropship that's dropping troops off to go off into battle or to do other things. I can be flying close air support over a battalion, and they're engaging the enemy in direct fire, and they call in close air support, and I fly over, and I'm blowing up the Thargoid equivalent of tanks or whatever, so that they can make their push. Okay, there's stuff I can do around that, but the part that more interests me in that first person shooter with Thargoids is that implicit and sort of explicit within that statement, when you unpack it, is the fact that we have to have more of the Thargoid story occur in order to get to that point. So that part alone excites me, of okay, Thargoid motherships or new systems unlocked, or if we're at the point where we're not just seeing them on ships, but we're seeing them on foot, that means one of two things is happening. Either we're invading or they're invading. And whichever one it is, the story progresses. And I'm interested to find out whatever happens with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is going to be the interesting thing from my perspective. Is going to be, okay, that's what we're expecting to get. How are we going to get there? And that is something that we'll come up with probably in the run up to the new era. But
100%.
I mean, the main reason that we're suffering from the content drought at the moment is because the writers are all busy doing stuff for new era. So, and from what I remember, the community manager saying about it, they said the schedule was very aggressive, which normally is management speak for. It's going to be close.
Yeah, they're in crunch mode.
Yeah, which it's not something that I think Frontier are really. They don't have a reputation of a crunch company.
No,
but unlike sort of Rockstar
or BioWare or Bethesda.
Oh yeah, well yeah, the BioWare and EA. That's a whole different other kind of crunch.
So yeah, and then every once in a while you have some asshole go off and stir up stuff on the forums asking for, excuse me, can we please get some stories? Which
I wonder who that could be.
I blame Ty.
Well, let me ask you about that. So I'm of the believer that not only like Will kind of said, Galnet's going to be back. I don't think Galnet's going to be back because I think they're working on something better. I don't quite know what that would be. My gut says maybe it'll be like I don't know if it'd be paid, but scripted events that are kind of more story based that you can kind of load into from the cockpit somehow.
Oh yeah, I mean that's exactly what Interstellar initiatives were trying to be. They were trying to be these little bits of narrative that you could follow for about a month and a couple of months. And to tell you the truth, in my opinion, I felt they kind of worked, especially the last couple, where you had one leading into another. The Thargoid one I thought was especially good, especially with that surprise attack on the Palin base.
That was really good, yeah.
Yeah, because for a couple, because they didn't announce it see, the problem that I've always had with the interstellar initiatives is that they've said, right, okay, this is how it's going to break down, and they basically spoilt it on the forums. And I think if they wanted to keep the people, and I know why they did it. They did it to show that, guys, we are doing stuff. But there is going to be more stuff coming than this. But the problem is that it kind of lost its urgency because you knew there was going to be 4 stages.
100%. And you knew how the whole thing played out. If you're going to signpost the whole thing, you open an Agatha Christie book and it says, okay, by the way, on the last page, you're going to find out the butler did it. Okay, now we start with a murder mystery. Here we go. And it's like, oh, fuck off.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, and that's what made the Thargoid one specifically good, because there was a surprise event in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And for that, when that surprise event happened, the Anti-Xeno initiative and all that, who were all out in the Witchhead's Nebula, suddenly went, oh hell, they've got Palin, and barreled it back to defend Palin's base, and just the panic or that little bit of, oh god, we've got to get back, was fantastic. It was just fantastic to see. It was fantastic to take part in. And and it just goes to show the potential that these live events have. And I hope that they bring them back in New Era.
So what do you think about that miscolored Thargoid that was spotted outside of the Palin's base?
The Orthrus.
Yeah, I couldn't think of the name of it.
I loved the fact that it was there. I got no idea. Personally, I think it's hybrid that Palin created.
See, that's what I'm in the mindset of too. I know a lot of people are talking about, well, this could be the other race of Thargoids. Well, they only exist in the RPG. And Braben has said that not everything that's in the RPG is actually canon. So.
No, I mean, well, it's also in the Out of Darkness novel. There's an Out of Darkness Elite Dangerous novel, which covers the Thargoids.
And
it isn't, because they've kind of turned around and said, right. Originally, when these writers' packs were created, they sort of said whatever will be in the writers' pack will be canon in the game.
Right.
But since then, they've kind of come back a little from that, and sort of said, no, it's kind of is canon, but it's not 100% canon. If they've come up with something that David Braben doesn't agree 100% with, then it's not 100% in the game.
That's. They said specifically that these are going to be canon, and then to retroactively uncanonize them is a little.
Well, I'm not saying that they're uncanonizing them. I'm saying that they're basically picking and choosing the kind of things that they want to go forward with, and that anything that's in those novels you can't use as a basis of where they're going to go.
And the other thing there is that they got 4 other games that they've kind of gone through there and picked the parts out of. They're like, well, okay, this part's canon, this part's not, kind of stuff. So,
well, that I'm okay with, because that was stated from the beginning. Like, hey, look, just the same, like how they decided this is our Elite Dangerous canon answer for how the previous Elite game had worked, as far as. Because when you played as Jameson, you had the choice to deliver the mycoid virus or not. Because you could literally have taken it to the Thargoids, worked out with them a thing, and you got the different ending where not only was the Thargoid war sort of ended because they're like, okay, you're decent, we'll trade with you, we'll deal with you as our representative. But then they gave you a Thargoid ship that you could jump around in farther. So I get that when you have a game like that, a previous game that had multiple endings, and you had, millions of people playing it, and some chose A and some chose B, and you can't decide for that. You have to come up with one official answer and say, this is the answer we're going with. That I get. That's different. But I would hope that all of the things that were in the books that they specifically had the ability to review and edit and say, no, that bit has to change, I would have hoped that all of those bits would be.
You see, this is the thing. They probably were completely 100% canon when the game was being developed. What's happened since then is they've probably looked at the way that the plot is progressing, and the writers don't want to be hamstrung by what's happening before. So that if they've got an idea of which will basically, I'm trying to think of the phrase here. Damn it! If they've got something which is in the book and they want to take it in a different direction, they'll take it in a different direction and say, no, the book, that particular part of it is no longer canon. They can't. If they've got a better idea, they will go with their better idea, and it is a difficult one because the goalposts will change, and I don't think that everything that we've read before is going to be in the game as was previously written. No, I'm going round in circles here. I mean, I do know the stuff that has come from David Braben, which I think Drew said stuff like the club and that kind of stuff, that will be in there because, that's originally what was suggested. And we definitely know Raxla's in there somewhere, but we don't know where.
Oh, you don't know where. I know where.
Oh, you know?
Well, we'll discuss it.
But as far as all the rest of it is concerned, then I don't have any extra information on what's in their heads going forward, if you like.
Right. I get it. What would you like to see in the newer era, i.e., okay, the new era is done. Whatever happens in that, okay, fine. I'm guessing it's a no-brainer. You're like, okay, let's get back on the atmospheric landings. Let's get back towards...
It will be.
Yeah.
I mean, I would, the ultimate that I would like for Elite Dangerous is to have the same experience in No Man's Sky that you have, but with the scientific accuracy and the flight model that we've got.
And the non-cartooniness.
Exactly. I've loved the running around stuff in No Man's Sky. I think that's been great. It's when I get into the spaceship that I really go, why the bloody hell am I doing this?
Yeah.
That's nearly the same review I gave it.
Yeah, I would love to see. And you know what? I would be okay even with if they got to steal one thing from No Man's Sky from the ship side of it. I would say I would be okay with my very own Moya. If I found some way where it's like I have a ship and then here's a thing and there's an egg and it turns into a Moya type ship, I would be okay if they
living
do
ships.
Yeah.
I must admit that did take me by surprise, and I do applaud them for that because. But then again, this is the thing. They are churning out a lot of updates quite quickly.
They are, aren't they?
Basically, that's keeping their fan base quite happy, and because Elite Dangerous hasn't had anything new for people. For the veteran players for quite some time, people are beginning to feel a little abandoned. I mean, and yes, we know that fleet carriers are coming, and we know that there's a new era coming, but you do sometimes. You can't abandon people in the meantime. I mean, I know it's only been 3 months since the last Interstellar Initiative, but it's been an awful 3 months.
Well, here's the interesting thing. if you look at the concurrent users on Steam, now obviously this is not everyone, because there's plenty of people that don't play on Steam. There's plenty of people that play it directly through non-stream on PC. There's plenty of people that play it on consoles. But that answer sort of is true for both games. And if you look at the concurrent users on Steam a year ago, Elite Dangerous had slightly more users than No Man's Sky.
Yep.
And in that time period, in that same time period, Elite Dangerous has, for all intents and purposes, put out no updates that are sort of viewed as meaningful for the veteran players. And No Man's Sky has put out 2 updates in that time period.
Yep.
And throughout that, No Man's Sky has been continuing to make adjustments and changes and things to the narrative, to the sort of lore, to the, the living ships and different. They've added things to sort of make the world richer.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the concurrent users average now for No Man's Sky and Elite Dangerous, No Man's Sky is about twice what Elite Dangerous is.
Yeah. And that's because basically they're getting content that's, they're getting content. It's keeping people engaged in the game, and, they're staying with it. The thing is, if you don't keep that content coming, then you'll see that the player numbers just drop again.
And I will point out that at the time when CGs and IIs were active, like if you take a month without, like go back a year and look at the concurrent numbers. Okay, let's say 1 month had no CGIIs, whatever, and then the next month did, and then the next month didn't, and the next month did.
Yep.
The months with a CGII would be player engagement numbers would be 2 to 3 times more than the ones without.
Yes.
And so I'm just going to point out that if your business model is such that you make your money, a good portion of your money, off of sales of things in the ARC store or what have you, like, that this game doesn't have a monthly sort of subscriber. This game has, you buy it once for your 30 quid, 60 quid, 40 quid, whatever. Yep. And then you play it forever, and you hopefully keep buying stuff through their little nifty store. People who don't play don't buy stuff. If I'm not playing the game, if I'm not logging in to do a CG, I'm not going to go on the store and dig around to see what the paint jobs this week are.
Yeah.
So,
and that's well, they say that they've taken that into account. They say that they're expecting a revenue drop from Elite Dangerous. They're not expecting it to be a massive money generator for this year because they're investing in a new era.
Yeah.
But my point is that if you don't keep a little bit of interest, a little bit of more content than we're getting at the moment, it doesn't maintain the interest until the next big upgrade.
Mm-hmm. And, if somebody steps away for a moment, but they're still in your game, that's not a huge. But if someone steps into No Man's Sky, Star Citizen, or something completely different, somebody steps into, oh man, I've heard good things about this Final Fantasy 14 Shadowbringers patch, and if they go all in on that and fall down another MMO rabbit hole, there's a chance that when you come out with your next thing, they're no longer listening because they've moved on a new love, and they're excited for that. And I'm definitely not trying to be the, doom and gloom sayer at all. I'm just pointing out that is a very real factor that they have to keep in mind.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know whether or not they appreciate that, to be honest. This is the only MMO game that Frontier have ever done. and they don't really consider it an MMO. Well, they do now because Bruce has been brought on with an MMO background,
and I dig that.
Yeah, I must admit, a lot of people were there saying, "Oh, but he's never played the game." What the usual complaints about the CM manager not being able to play the game they're supposed to be responsible for. But my opinion is that no, they can learn that they're a CM is a community manager for a game. They don't have to be an expert at the game, but they do have to be an expert at the community.
Yes.
And hopefully, I mean, I haven't had a chance to really form an opinion yet of Bruce, but he's come across very well on the streams. And if he has worked, and because he's worked on, is it RuneScape?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
then,
he did old school RuneScape. So you got to be careful with RuneScape because there's multiple sort of versions out, and they're sort of very different products in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, because he's used to dealing with player groups, he's used to dealing with annoyed people on the forums. He's used to dealing with the kind of thing that I don't think Frontier have had much experience of before. I think that shows them they're taking the fact that Elite Dangerous is a kind of semi MMO more seriously, which I think is a good thing.
Great thing. Yeah. I right off the bat, I get great vibes from Bruce. I like him. I like the discussions that we've had with him in Discord. I like the little bits of information that we've gotten. Love the Brucey bonus from the first thing. Love the love the fact that he came in and he's not an expert in this game. He's learning the game, but he acquitted himself quite well in both of the streams.
Both the streams we've seen him in so far, yeah.
I dig him. I like him. And I know you said you don't see the Tom Welling thing. I'm telling you, man, he's got a little bit of Tom Welling there around the eyes and the face. But,
I feel like you're stretching on that. I got to tell you.
Yo, that's maybe it's the narrative that I'm pushing, but I'm calling it now. He's the super CM.
You want Bruce to be Superman.
I want
is that what you're saying?
I want him to be the Superman of this community, to put it on his back and carry it to a better, brighter future. Yes. That's where I'm going with it, and I'm sticking to it.
I hope that he can manage the kryptonite that is the blooming forums, because that.
I think he'll. Let me tell you something. These forums, they are. They're not the great. They're not the greatest sort of spot, or to my mind, always the greatest sort of. Expression that one could get of the community that I found. I found that the community of this game is quite lovely, and that the community on the forums is much more of a mixed bag, and the community in the live stream comment section is just a dumpster fire. But but let me tell you something. These forums ain't got shit on the old school RuneScape forums. You want to talk about some darkness? Yeah, no. I think he's ready to suit up and play, and I feel it, and I'm getting good vibes. So I'm looking forward to. And I think the fact that they chose him, the fact that they went after a guy with MMO experience says something to me. I'm about to say it first, damn it. It says something to me that it's like. They're moving in the right direction. They realize that it's like, okay, we're going to have to change our tact a little bit with how we deal with the community. I hope, I feel. And also the PR, hiring the PR guy, that people are like, yeah, this game's basically in maintenance mode. You're deluding yourself. You don't hire a PR guy for a game that's in maintenance mode.
No, you don't.
That's just.
I think the very fact that they went and got a guy with an MMO background. I think that's a telling thing toward where they're headed with this 2020 update, the new era update. So Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it.
Yeah, well, it is one of these occasions where you look at what's being put into place and you think, okay, even though it's quiet now, I think it's worth sticking with. I just need something to keep me going until it gets interesting again.
There was a forum post on the Reddit forum that got just 1,000,000,001 thumbs ups not that long ago, where it was saying like, hey guys, I'm with you. I love your game. I love your product. I'm sticking with you, but please give me something to be hyped about. Please. I just want a little something to be happy. And it's like, you know what? I get it, man. I'm not that post was not written by a hater. That post was not written in a way of like, fuck you. This is blah, blah. That post was written of like, I'm on your team. Just please give me a little something to smile for. Give me something to hold on,
Yeah.
Let me ask you one more question real quick. I am of the mindset that with that leak, if we hadn't got that leak, I wouldn't say swimming in information because it is frontier, but I feel like we would have a lot more information than what we do right now. Because I feel like after that leak, they went dark.
Yes. I agree. I think that we would probably have not a huge amount of information, but there would be something. There would be a little hint of,
But the hints that we would have are things that already got leaked, so they don't have them now.
Exactly. And well, that's one of the problems that they've got, is because if they do have a leak, anything that they've got which they've been, getting people excited about showing us, that's gone. So, they might have had new concept art that they could have shown us. I mean, they used to do a weekly update where they would show a sneak peek, which is basically, I don't know, a picture of a limpet or a close-up of a planet or something like that. And that would get people slavering for until the next one.
Well, they did it again. They did it again just a couple of weeks ago at the 24-hour live stream with that cheeky little Mamba picture.
It's yeah, but we've seen the Mamba.
No, the internal. The internal one that they showed, that internal one of like the engine room of the Mamba, and people were like, "Space legs confirmed."
And I kind of think, maybe it's me. I kind of think that I don't think that we necessarily would have a whole lot of information, but I think that we would have some concept art floating around that'd be on the website. Maybe some new wallpapers. Maybe maybe a couple of screenshots here or there that are kind of, people are picking apart, but there's not a whole lot of information in them kind of deal. We might have like a broad stroke of what fleet carriers are going to do besides what we've already seen.
You see, I completely agree. This is the kind of thing that happens when a leak comes out, because they just double down and say, right, okay, that's it, nothing.
And it also that's also what comes from everyone instantly shitting on them when they do release information. It's like you don't. That was the whole point of me writing my little thing on the forums. If you open up with, "You suck, your game is dog shit, nobody likes it, burn in hell, I hope your wife dies of brain cancer," and then you come up with, "And here's what you should be doing with this game if you weren't so awful." And then you could come up with the best, whatever you say following that could be the single greatest idea in video game history. And still no one's going to listen to it because you started off being an absolute fucking horrific dumpster fire of a human being. So
do you find that happens quite a lot on the forums? Do you find that those are the comments that seem to be?
I feel more so that in the like comment section of the of a lot of their streams or whatever, but you do get a lot of real snarky, nasty, whatever. And that's all I wanted to do with the little post that I made on the forums was to start off and try to engage in the right way. Try to say, "Hey, look, I love you. I love your thing. This is awesome. I'm a big fan. Here is what I would like you to hear. I feel this about that." That's it. And it's not like you have to make changes by this date. I have a public what is this petition, and these people have all signed it, and you must change your ways now. Like, no, it's just, hey, I feel this. I liked your stories. You're not doing them right now. It makes me sad. That's it. And then that's not saying turn back on the stories by tomorrow or your cat gets it. No, it's literally just saying like, hey, I want you to know you've made a change. I'm not a huge fan of that change. I love your game still. There's still 9,000 other aspects of your game that I love. I'm still a fan. I'm still going to keep playing. But just in the future, at some point, when you're allocating new budget, maybe keep in mind that there are people like me that missed this part and would like you to do more of that. So just later, keep that in mind. And I feel like they heard that. So things change, things don't change. I can't control any of that, but they at least heard it. And they heard not just from one space nerd, but they heard a lot of other people say like, oh yeah, we also kind of like the stories. Can you do those, please?
Yeah, I mean, like everybody said, the way that the letter was phrased actually got the point across a lot better than a lot of the other YouTube commentators and people in the forums seem to. Well, you know what I mean. It's sort of the previous petition or open letter really left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, I think. And it was a nice answer to. It didn't get the result you wanted, I know, but it did prove to them that
it got the result that they heard me. That's all. Yeah. That's all that Now over and above that,
that's true. I mean, you got the result you wanted. You got listened to. It didn't eventually end up with anything that any new lore coming out or anything like that. But at least by being that polite and that respectful, you managed to get a response out of them, while all the others got none.
And who knows? Maybe down the line when they're having meetings discussing, okay, new era's launched. Now what are we going to do? We got to budget this much for this much for that. Maybe somebody pipes up and says, hey, remember a lot of people clicked on that like button on that one guy's thing. Maybe we should put a little something to it. What do you think? And if it changes that much, if it gets into a meeting and someone mentions it and someone goes, yeah, we should do something with that, I'm happy.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So let me shift gears here just a little bit, because I have I want to ask about some of the behind the scenes LaveCon stories, and I've kind of heard a few rumors here or there about some things, but I want to know. I want to know some of your and please don't like out anyone or throw someone underneath the bus or anything. I don't want to do that.
I hate to think where you're going with this, because
I just want to hear like what is the best or what was your best LaveCon, and what was the funnest thing that you got to do while you were there?
LaveCon is unique. The funnest thing is actually I run these elite miniature games, which is basically a little tabletop game based on obviously Elite Dangerous, and normally having running that game in the RPG room is probably the funnest thing that I have there, because everybody they'll come up to it. It looks very complicated, and then within 5 to 10 minutes they realize it's actually quite an easy system to run, and they end up getting quite involved. And there's a guy who's come up every year since I started doing it, Commander Double, who you might have heard of, because he's mentioned on Hutton Orbital quite a lot as well. Yeah. He comes up every time, and he's terrible at it. He really is absolutely terrible. He's got the lowest the lowest survivability rate ever. I mean, last time he lost one ship, so we gave him another one and another one, and I think he lost 3 in a row. And the thing is actually he's not that terrible a tactician. He just gets really, really bad rolls. So basically, he's all, but yeah. So he doesn't stand. It's just bad luck. But it's just so funny when you think he's going to win it. He's going to win it this time, and then he gets a double one and critical fail, and that's it. His ship blows up. It's great. But I do like sort of taking people through those things, the rules of the game, and there's that moment of realization that, oh, this is quite easy. It's not as scary as I thought it would be, and they really get into it. And so I'd like running those. There's been a couple of years where I've actually done. Helped out with the Frontier presentation, basically on crowd control.
You never get a break from having to herd all the children into single file lines, huh?
No, basically, I'm either the one there taking the questions and making sure they behave themselves, or I'm the guy at the end of the line saying, right, questions after me, with a very, very big Nerf hammer, just in case someone comes up close. So, I mean, it's a unique experience, considering that you've actually got to stand up at the beginning of it and give a "Hi, welcome to LaveCon" speech, and everybody else cheers at you, and you're sort of there going, "I'm scared now."
You're the rock star.
No, I'm not the rock star. The rock star for LaveCon is definitely Commander Psycho Cow and Karen and Alan, who. And basically Psycho Cow's brother Moof, who those guys basically, Karen and Alan run it, put it together, and then Moof and Cow comes up with this fantastic sound system that they enhance, and it started off as just a tiny PA when we first started, and now the sound system and the presentation systems he's put together are unbelievable.
But you're the rock star, because you're the one that stands up at the very beginning and says, "Hello, everybody, and welcome to LaveCon 2020." Everyone goes, "Ha!" and they're screaming and cheering for when you get to talk. So you get that experience.
No, you're forgetting it's a British thing, so you get a polite round of applause.
Oh no! See, in America, that's when they start.
You see, the thing is, when you do Loose Screws Con, whenever you do Loose Screws Con, you will have to do the same, and you will have to have. I fully expect people to be going nuts and throwing pigs at each other, and
wait, throwing pigs at each other. What exactly do you think America is, bro? Wow. Okay.
That's it. You're coming here. I'm going to show you what's up.
We see how they view us colonials. God. Throwing pigs at each other. I actually want to see that happen now at an event of some form. Probably the Hillbilly Banjo Radio Convention.
Yeah, I'd just like to apologize for that right at the moment in time.
I don't think you're allowed to apologize for that. We own it. We're changing. Right now, we have our lawyers on hold. We're in the process of changing all the trademarks, everything.
No, I'd just like to say I'd just like to completely apologize for saying that. And of course, I should have said Hillbilly Banjo Redneck Radio instead. I do apologize for any inconvenience caused.
That actually does sound a little bit more, accurate. So,
accurate to who? I'm a Mexican. They wouldn't let me in.
Come on my yard.
Oh, okay.
Look,
right. I don't really mean that. I'm just kidding around.
Wow.
I do apologize because we've got even in Manchester here, we've got a guy just around the corner who has he basically drives around in a truck which says "Research Flat Earth" next to it, and of course he's got Confederacy flags coming out the top of them. I think he's watched too much Dukes of Hazzard, and he thinks that's what Americans are like. I know they're not because my brother's married a very, very nice American girl.
You know, I got a really great Flat Earth story I'll share with you afterwards if you got a minute. But so without throwing anybody underneath the bus, tell me your worst memory of LaveCon.
Oh, well, see, this is the thing, and you're going to hate me you're going to think I'm faking out. There hasn't been one.
Okay.
There hasn't been one because when you actually meet the community, you do find that they are quite a positive bunch. I mean, there are complaints and whinging on the forums sometimes. The worst thing I think I could come up with is basically sometimes I think people, as soon as the Frontier crowd turn up, they Frontier are here, and they will basically jump on them and try and ask them questions right from the get-go. And
what do you tell Shan when he does that?
I take the fifth on that one.
I come back to the fact that whenever he's at LaveCon, Dav knows that he has no hope of finishing a drink without getting cornered by Shan.
Yeah, I think next time we might have to herd them away and bring them in secretly in the back entrance so that they can at least have a little while before they're basically set upon. But apart from that, I don't think there is a bad experience that I've had at LaveCon when I've been there. So
right,
there isn't anything. There isn't anything really bad to say. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. That's all good.
And I'm really ashamed I'm missing out this year. But
you're not making it. Make it. Oh
no, unfortunately,
he said he wasn't coming because he heard you guys had Coronas and he drinks Michelob.
Well, if you take the coronavirus issues out of it, which I'm hoping that won't even be an issue, which
let's hope so.
Fingers crossed.
But if you take that out of it, the week that it's happening, either the week before, the week of, or the week after will be the week I'm having to move. So it's just going to be one of those. It's going to be too tight for me to be able to plan between here and there, and I'm not going to try to go take a flight somewhere, go to a convention, and then come back and try to figure out how to move. That's just
no. That is too much to handle. But hopefully, maybe the 2021.
No, definitely. There's nothing that's going to stop me from going to that one. So,
and I was specifically asked not to come to LaveCon by FDev because they were afraid I was going to start some of a movement, and they were like, "No, we'd rather not. Just stay home."
Well, you could, of course, set up ScrewsCom.
Yeah. Although I was actually specifically asked to do that by someone. I was like, not even a joke. Someone messaged me and said, "We've thought about it, and we would like for you to set up like the equivalent of sort of a LaveCon in America." We feel like I'm not even joking. They were like, "We feel like you've got the right energy and that you're very enthusiastic, and we would like for you to do it." And I told them, there is not a chance in hell I'm going to do that. Do you understand? Like, okay, in America, first off, that's a lot of work. But second off, you don't even understand this fact. America has, I pulled up and Googled the statistics and I linked it to them. America has 320 million people, okay?
Mm-hmm.
America has 380 million handguns. I'm not going to get together a bunch of Americans and put them in one place. Like, I'm just not interested in doing that, man. Like,
no, the security that you'd need and to pull all that together. I mean, small conventions work quite well in America. I've seen, and normally you'll find that. I mean, elite players, okay, they do get passionate, but we're not talking Gamergate toxic levels of passionate, are we? So, I mean, but I completely know what you mean because let's say Karen and Alan, they put 3 months into their life to arrange LaveCon. That's 3 months. I don't have the time for that. And as far as Cal and Moof is concerned, it's always on in the background for them. And as Cal's constantly said, it's the one thing he does look forward to every year to put that on. I mean, Cal is. I've got to actually say this. Grant Psycho Cal Woolcott is one of the most generous and brilliant people that you could meet. He's one of the. He's the first. He was the first featured commander, and for a very good reason by FDev, because basically he's one of these people who becomes the life and soul of the party, and he doesn't mean to, but does anyway. And the amount of time and energy and his generosity into creating half of LaveCon itself is unbelievable, let alone everything else that he's done for the Elite Dangerous community. So you've got to take your hats off to him.
100%. And I mean, he hosts and does all of that for Lave and for the Hutton Truckers both. And he's constantly bopping around between one or the other, doing, this week I'm doing the sound for this one and next week for that one. He's got side things going on. He's doing right now this project where first they're setting up all the stuff for ECM, and they're trying to deal with, they're having meetings this week to discuss like if and how that's going to be able to happen, what all they're going to have to do for that.
It all depends on what is said. I mean, as of this time on the 14th of March, we haven't gone down into lockdown yet. That could change on Monday if our government just suddenly says, no, that's it. We're not going to. We're going to have people locked down. Then basically that's the end of ECM, and it might even be the end of LaveCon, depending on what happens.
Time frames,
It's just one of these horrible situations that nobody expected to happen.
Yeah.
And all that effort that all the Hutton Truckers have done, and Karen and Alan have done to create these events will go.
That would be just heartbreaking. If something were to happen, the event itself is, 2 miles down the road from the Cambridge, what do you call it?
The Cambridge office, the Cambridge campus,
Science campus or whatever, where FDev is headquartered. God forbid if they have to curtail ECM 20. I would hope that they could still do, do an online 2-day show or something, do a stream where they, cover. I know it's not the same. I know, but just something, because like that would be heartbreaking, because the Hutton Truckers are, honestly, I think they are the best of us. And for their thing to get shat on by the universe is just so sad.
I know, but it's one of these things we just have to wait and see, because it'd be great if it goes ahead, but if the government turn around and say no, you can't have people that many in a small area, then it's best for everyone, especially when there are quite a few people that could be considered in the danger group. Not that I'm saying much about the age range of people who play Elite Dangerous.
Well, it's age ranges, but you're right. But there's also other people, Moof's on special medicine. There are people who it's like, oh, my wife is on this special medicine, or I'm on that special medicine, and as a result, I could be immunocompromised, or that or the other. So, like, yeah, man, it's a real concern, and I'm not for one moment saying like, damn the torpedoes, they should do it anyway. No, they have to be sensible, and they have to comply with, the advice from the government and obviously the orders from the government if it gets to that point. But I would hope, and I know that this is a poor substitute for them actually getting to spend that time together directly, but at the very least, if it has to be curtailed this year, do a streaming show, don't let it stop you guys. Hutton Truckers, you guys are the absolute best at trucking on. So figure out a way to put together some mega stream. And even if it's coming on from everybody's house and they're just randomly popping into other people and having them come into the TeamSpeak and for 5-10 minutes at a time and do the elite meet that, like, as much as it would suck, like, don't let it stop you. Keep on trucking.
We'll have to pass that one on.
Yeah. All right. So let me ask you, this has become sort of my favorite question to ask. Let's say tomorrow you win the lottery and you suddenly got 800 million pounds and you, because it's clearly a good idea, you invest 400 million pounds into frontier development and you're now the number 2 shareholder. You're just behind David Braben, and they bring you into his office. It's the two of you sitting at a big table. They close the door, and now it's just the two of you. And he says, "Okay, you've bought in. What do you want?" It is a blank canvas. It is a completely. There's a chalkboard right behind him, or one of those marker boards, and it's completely blank. And he wants to hear your just completely open sky ideas, blue sky ideas of, like, you and me, we're going to workshop this. We're going to sit in here for an hour or two. You're going to throw out a dozen ideas. I'm going to shoot some down. I'm going to approve some others. We're going to figure out a way to make them work. Go ahead. Give me your 5-minute pitch of everything you would like to see in Elite. Little stuff, big stuff. It doesn't matter. Lay it on me.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. We want to build the Oasis.
Halliday's dream.
Yes. Let's do
Halliday's
this shit.
dream, brother. Okay. Now, details. See, you give me a flippant answer, I'm gonna call your bluff.
Well, obviously, when you were talking about Elite, the ultimate that you'd want is basically what is in your head when you are playing the Traveller or the Elite or RPG. Mm-hmm. You want that kind of level of immersion. You want to be able to walk around your ship. You want to be able to interact with NPCs, interact with other players in realistic environments. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to walk around on an omni-treadmill, omnidirectional treadmill with a headset on, so that you feel like you're in the Elite Dangerous universe.
All right, so talk me through the first 5 years. How are you going to do it? How are you going to go from where we're at today? What do you want next? And then after that, and after that.
Well, this is the thing. When you're dealing with this kind of virtual reality, obviously you've got to be able to have the emotional connection between what you're seeing and what you're acting. So in other words, if you're walking, you got to feel as if you're walking. How you do that? You either have one of these treadmill things, which people have been seeing in ECM, but I mean, it's all pretty pie in the sky stuff, because what you'd want is basically everything you can imagine. You could say exactly the same thing if someone turned around to you at Lucasfilm and say, "What do you want?" You know that people would say, "I would want to live in the Star Wars galaxy properly."
Okay. And so let's start it with, let's concrete things, not the pie in the sky. Give me, I'll give you one.
You said pie in the sky. I give you pie in the sky.
I'm saying with actual structure behind them as it pertains to Elite Dangerous. Not if your answer is make me the greatest video game ever. It's like, okay, fine. But so step one, let's bring all of the platforms into one server. So let's have the PlayStation people and the computer people and the Xbox people be able to play together.
Okay, so you're talking realistic stuff now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, realistically, yeah, crossplay was probably would probably be number one on the list because you want to have as many people on the same platform as possible. Because
Okay.
population numbers, that would be, the ultimate. You know, the bigger your community that can play together, the better the situation will be.
100%.
Yeah. The second thing is, now I know that peer-to-peer is needed because it's the only way that they can handle that kind of the kind of flexibility that they need. But the reason for that they've got that flexibility is because if they were doing client server, the client server demands would be phenomenal on their end. They'd have to provide infrastructure, which I don't think the internet can actually support at the moment. So you'd probably need your own dedicated connections. It's Elite Dangerous does a fantastic job, I think, of giving you the illusion that you're all in the same game together, when actually the chances are at the moment you will probably see people who are close to you or within a certain ping range. So,
Okay.
for instance, I'm not going to see someone fly in Australia because the ping for there is going to be too low, and the peer-to-peer will just say, no, he's too low, I can't include him in my instance because otherwise it'll kill the instance. Unless
you wing up.
Yeah, but then when you wing up, it still slows you down.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you'd have to come up with some kind of methodology or infrastructure which would bypass that.
Okay. What new ships would you like?
What new ships? To tell you the truth, I'm not bothered about new ships. I would like. I think we've got enough to cover all the bases. I mean, there are ships which existed in the previous games which could be nice to come over, such as the Imperial Explorer or the Imperial Trader. If I don't say the Merlin, Chris Jarvis will kill me.
His favorite, yeah.
Yeah,
and of course the Panther Clipper that has to be constantly mentioned and never seen.
I'm not really a fan of the Panther Clipper. I hated it in the last game.
Fair enough. Okay.
but everybody else seems to like it. Now, basically a spaceship with 3 wings, a tri-wing design would be nice to have.
Nice.
Just imagine an Imperial Clipper, but with the tri-wing design instead of just a 2.
I dig it.
So that would be nice.
What new SRVs would you like?
Well, let's see. Well, obviously, the equivalent of a speeder bike, equivalent of a heavy tank, obviously a huge equivalent of an 18-wheeler truck. So, you could carry more than what you have at the moment. Those kind of things, they've been suggested again and again, which, they've been put on the suggestion box on the forums from time to time. And one of the things that I would really love is just to copy and paste the flight training area from the new tutorial. Just put that somewhere in the galaxy and take the speed restrictions off it. So you just got the asset. You don't need to do anything with the actual rings. Just let people fly through the rings, fly through that, so they could do their own race course. That would be nice.
Nice.
See, obviously, I think obviously the atmospheric landings. Full on. I know that David Braben's mentioned big game hunting. He wants basically the
shooting dinosaurs from your ship.
Shooting dinosaurs from an SRV or something like that is, that's. I think it's pretty much, if everybody created one of these checklists, it'd all be the same, where it'd end up with there's as much functionality in there that you end up being able to play exactly the same in the game as you would in an RPG in the RPG. But yeah,
And would you be in favor of saying that power play mode and BGS, anything that involves influence, can only be done in open? Would you be in favor of that?
You did this on purpose.
Hey, you're the big investor here. You get to throw out an idea, and your voice is louder because you just cashed up the money, bro.
Well, as far as the BGS is concerned, no.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That you can do the BGS in private in private, solo, and open.
Okay.
But I would actually reserve power play and say no. Power play has to be given a little bit more variety, and either linking in the mission system or something like that into power play, and I would also say that one has to be kind of hybrid open only.
Hybrid open only. Please explain.
Yeah. Right. What I would say is for those people who don't have access to the open only mode, because there are people who either with bad internet connections or the fact that they haven't played their paid their Xbox One subscription or whatever it is, they've only got access to solo mode.
But I thought that you had to have an internet connection even to play.
No, but you've got to remember if you're on the Xbox or the PS4, the only way you can play online properly against other people is to pay their Sony or Microsoft subscription charge on top of every month.
Yeah.
So,
but you're saying that there are people that play in PlayStation that don't have access? They only have access to solo?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know this. Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the main issues that whenever open-only power play was mentioned, there was a whole load of people who said, but I don't play power play open-only because I can't. I want to play it, but I can't. And so what you'd do is you'd make certain bits of functionality available to power play so that they could still earn their merits and they could still do their, be involved in power play. But actually affecting the actual background simulation, that can only be done by people who are playing in open.
Okay, so you're the big. I'm 100% on board with now. With saying you're the big investor. You get to call it. What do you want to see progress in the Guardian storyline?
Well, obviously, I'd like to see the Guardians come back and scare the living poop out of everybody.
What do you want to see happen in the Thargoid storyline?
I want the Thargoids to up their game and scare the living poop out of everybody.
Okay. What do you want to see happen with some of these locked sectors and what have you?
I want there to be something in there that will scare the living poop out of people.
I'm sensing a theme here. What do you want to happen with Raxxla storyline?
I want everybody to discover Raxxla and then suddenly decide it wasn't as great as they thought it would be.
Huh. Okay. All right.
No,
See, I have a pet theory.
Go on.
I would like for Raxxla to be discovered, now, a week from now, a month from now, 6 months from now. And I would like Raxxla to be a big fuck off planet with a big fuck off Stargate, big enough that you could fly a Panther clipper through it if one existed. Right? But here's the kick. It's turned off. And we found it. The mystery of Raxxla is solved. Now what? And then you find that, with it, there's a big pedestal, like a control thing, like a Stargate, like from Stargate SG-1 Stargate. But, and then it's on a planet. It's a mile down the road. There's all kinds of, sort of control, there's ruins that have all kinds of diagrams and shit. And okay, we got to figure this out. But it starts a whole process that literally finding Raxxla could just be the beginning of the mystery. And then it could be a 900 step process or a 50 or a 12, however many steps seem whatever, where now we're out searching the universe for another set of ruins so that we can find a Rosetta Stone to decrypt the ones here, and then you got to find a power source, and then you got to find this and that, and they could literally orchestrate a huge other scavenger hunt that has us stop looking for Raxla, but we're really sort of still looking for the mystery of Raxla, of how to like get the gate turned on. And then when they're finally done with Elite Dangerous and ready to put it into for realsies maintenance mode, they say, oh, and by the way, the last piece was this little control crystal, which is the artifact that we've been holding in the lore from the beginning of before the game started, that was found on Mars a bazillion years ago. And here, we've now put it in there, and you can dial it up, and you put the game in maintenance mode by then letting people jump through into the Andromeda Galaxy. And you just procedurally generate another one. Did, you know, with the first one, and you have absolutely no, it's way easier to do because you don't have to be accurate. It's just, you know, make it up as you go along and just have a big other thing for other people to play with.
How about this one in return? Is that just at the beginning of New Era that Raxla has discovered, and the Stargate is open, and people go through it but can't come back, and they end up in the Andromeda Galaxy, and that's where your base building happens. You've got to start building up your own civilization and base.
Can you take a carrier through there?
Well, yeah, why not?
Oh, I'm in.
Yeah, I'm all over that. I will move to Andromeda. Let's go.
Right on.
As long as I can take my vet, I'm good to go.
So basically, we'll show the Mass Effect guys how it's done properly.
I dig it. I dig it. I'm in. Yeah. All right. What? Any last other things from your you know, your meeting with David Braben, pie in the sky? Like, something concrete to the game that you can actually make, you know.
Oh dear, I don't know. Probably have Lave Radio as a permanent fixture in the game, so that when you switch onto Galnet News, you also have Lave Radio next to it, so that you can just flip through to a selection of radio stations which you win.
You say that almost as a joke, but let me tell you something. I would love to now. Sort of, this has to happen. This can't happen in the game because then they have liability issues of they're letting yahoos go out there and say whatever, and you never know, you know, what could be said or whatever. But I think that the same way HCS Voice Attack has their thing, we should be able to create an add-on that Frontier Development is in no way legally responsible for or has no obligation to. Mm-hmm. And in that, you just have a car stereo like in Grand Theft Auto 5, where it's like you can literally have a community-driven council or group or whatever that like looks over everything and says, okay, we're not going to have anything that advocates for racism or jihad or
that kind of stuff,
sexism or whatever, but just, you know, Lave Radio, Hutton Orbital Truckers, you know, Down to Earth Astronomy streams, Loose Screws podcast, even stuff that's a little off color like Dockers or whatever. Like, just throw it in there. It has Sagittarius Eye and have people be able to just pull it up.
Dockers off color,
just a little, but it's still look. It's
the only color that you need to worry about with Dockers is brown. It's just
yeah, true. I'm not saying you're wrong.
No. Actually, it's already happened in other MMOs. The Matrix Online had a built-in radio player, which they had. They basically pointed the radio player at just streams that people were broadcasting, and you could that was built into the game.
And look at how strong that community was. When they died, when they killed the server, there was a big party. There was a rave going on online.
I know, I was
like
there.
that is a community. Learn the lesson from that. That is a way to build a community that just refuses to die.
Yes, that is. I mean, I was part of the Matrix Online for 4 years, so.
And I don't know if you know this, but Shan used to play this game called Guild Wars 2. I couldn't not do it.
You idiot! Because I haven't got my drink.
Well, then who's the idiot, me or you? Because I've got one right here.
Yeah, definitely me then. I'll have to go and make a special whiskey later. Yes. So yeah, I kind of lost where we were then.
We were talking about building a radio station for.
Oh yeah,
radio in your cockpit.
Yeah, basically a built-in radio player into the game. I think that'd be awesome.
Okay, all right. And any kind of special SLF? Any kind of? Wouldn't you like to see a Guardian, medium size or large size ship? What that could be?
You know what? I'd like to see those kind of ships in there, but not as playable ones. Obviously,
things we fight.
Yeah, the one thing I was a little disappointed with the Guardian stuff was those fantastic beacons that they've got. Right, the ruins have got drones which defend them. I was hoping that there'd be some kind of space fighter that would defend the.
Yeah.
So that basically, when you go to a beacon, you've got to have guns. I mean, you had to have lasers in order to activate the thing in the first place, but it was impressive when you turned up. But you did think that it would have been so much better if they had just little fighters.
Yeah. How about this? How about this game is the one thing that I love about this game is that it lets you play not as a murder hobo. Like if you choose to, you can play full-on trader or miner, or you could play full-on explorer. You could be NASA man and fly around and just, be like, oh, I don't have any use for guns or missiles or whatever. I don't have to be a murder hobo.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool if we encountered an alien race somewhere out there that we did not meaningfully interact with them through only trading lead? What if we were to find some alien race out there that were they're refugees from the Thargoids, and like they, because the frontier is sort of very they're sort of very funky, cool with their sort of leanings as far as how they've kind of made things, with ecology. Like they're thoughtful with regard to that. And right now, there's a huge refugee issue with on this planet, and there's a lot of people coming from a lot of areas, and there's a lot of feelings pro and against on that. And it would be an interesting commentary to have, come across some refugee aliens who we had to help out because they're displaced by the Thargoids.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, except you're forgetting about the what I call the STC factor.
But I'm not at all forgetting that.
Because trust me,
I'm not at all forgetting that.
There will be people that they'll see this coming up and they will try and wreck it.
And that's fine, but here's the thing. You make it, and there's plenty of games that have this. I can give you so many examples. You have a personal reputation with this race. So if Harry Potter wants to run around and be a dick and explode shit all the time, he can do that. And every time that race sees him, it will treat him as such. And if I help them out and do missions to bring food and water to them and try to find a planet that matches their criteria to give them a settlement on, then they will treat me as a friend because they recognize me as someone who has helped them.
Yeah, I mean, then that does it sounds like a good game mechanic. I've got no problem with it. It would be nice to see that for once. There has been complaint made about the game in the past where all you've got to talk to other people is your lasers.
Okay.
I mean, that was before the data scanner went in. When we first discovered the barnacles and the meta alloys, the only things that we could discover we could do was shoot at them because nothing else worked.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I like I like a lot of these ideas. I feel like there's some cool stuff we could do.
We always enjoy making the game in our heads, don't we? Because what we can make in our heads is so much better than actually having to code it. Trust me, I've seen C# code, and C++ code, which you just look at it and you just go, "That's never gonna work."
Right on.
Well, let me see if I can land this plane, so to speak. So I know we're coming up on your time here. First of all, I want to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for supporting me from day one, or effectively day one. And the show has become something I didn't quite expect, and I can't wait to see where it goes. And man, next year when we hit LaveCon, man, I'm I am buying you alcohol, brother.
I think he's going to try to get you drunk and have his way with you.
We're going to have a good time.
Make sure he doesn't Cosby you.
Shit. Damn. Depending on which page of urban legend you look up, it could be bad or just really bad. So, or urban dictionary, or urban legend shit. Anyway, is there anybody? I mean, you got your own radio show, but is there anybody you want to shout out while you're over here, or anything big you got coming up you want to plug?
Oh, let's see. Oh, yeah. Well, there is one thing that I've got to mention. Obviously, this sort of I got to thank yourselves, because it's, like I said, it's always nice to have other people preaching, if you like, about Elite Dangerous, and it also reassures me to the only weirdo who finds this thing fun. Obviously, everybody in the Lave Radio crew, because basically without their support, it is a team effort. It's not just me that does it. Everybody has something to contribute, and of course, without Cal's help at all, there wouldn't be a show, full stop. And we do miss the original contributors who were John, Chris, Mr. Jarvis, and Alan. The one thing that I do hope people would do is go on the forums and look up the Sanctimonious stories. The Sanctimonious stories was basically back in the day. There was the Elite Fiction projects, which were eventually, most of them were turned into books. But one of them was called Elite Chronicles, and I submitted some stories to that. But it turned out that that Elite Chronicles was one of the Kickstarters which failed. Basically, the Kickstarter was completed, but nothing was ever produced. So what I've done is I've taken the stories that I'd written for that project, and I've gone and put them onto the forums under the name Sanctimonious. You'd find them in the events section. And I've carried on working on them ever since. So, if you want to pop over to there, give them a read, let me know what you think of them. I'd appreciate that. So, yeah. I mean, you've got to thank people like Obsidian and I hate to say this, Yamix, because basically Yamix gave us some advice of what was wrong with Top Shift, because the colors were all coming out wrong, and he helped us out with that. And of course, Obsidian for just proving that you can do what we do in less than 15 minutes. So and yeah, I've also got to take my hats off to the guys that turn up at Frontier, because they put on the guys from Frontier who turn up. They do some things which you don't expect game developers to do. They know that this community is special, and they do make an effort for it. Nice. The Ed Normans and Mr. Blobby is something which will be burned in my brain until the day I die.
Right on.
And if you want it, and if you're an American, if you don't know what Mr. Blobby is, look up one of the previous 24-hour streams where you find out what Mr. Blobby is. And trust me, You're probably there going, "This British humor, we don't get it."
What has been seen cannot be unseen.
Exactly. And so, yeah, even though things are quiet at the moment, we do appreciate what Frontier do, and they do make a special effort. So, yeah.
Right on.
Yeah. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on here and talking with us, and I can't thank you enough for everything you've done for the show. Like I said, that's really all I got. Kai, you got anything else, bud?
No, brother. I would like for you to talk us out to the end of the show with a proper. You could go one of two ways with it. You could either give us the Lave Radio wrap up style, or you could give us the Hillbilly Banjo Radio style. But go ahead and give us a sign off for the show.
Okay. Dear. You put me really on the spot here. I don't have a script that I can actually. Okay, thank you for joining us on the Loose Screws podcast, otherwise known as Hillbilly Banjo Redneck Radio. We will be back next week with someone far more interesting. Fly dangerous.
Oh my God,
That's great.
great.